part of today, part B.3, HTML DOM and event propagation. This part, it is a theoretical part. We do not have new examples, but we will explain that drag and drop example in our previous video. First, I want to explain the HTML DOM concept, document object model. So this is a basic concept. So you have to know this concept in order to understand HTML-based processing well. So the JavaScript, when you do almost everything, you need this knowledge. Otherwise, a lot of things you couldn't understand well. This concept is very fundamental, but at the early part, it is not easy to explain this, too abstract. Now, after we have learned some background knowledge, now it is the right time to learn this new concept. All right. So first, we start from the browser point of view. So the browser render an HTML page. So the browser needs to use some special type of data structure to understand your HTML document. So here, when a web page is loaded, the browser creates. So the browser processing your document. So how does it do the processing? Create a special structure, document object model, special structure to parse your HTML page. So next we want to understand what is the specific structure of this document object model. This model is constructed as a tree of objects. So you can see the structure is a tree of objects. The tree, so you have a root node, then going down different branches, that kind of structure. So here, let me show you a diagram like this. So here you can see on top, it's a document as the root. Under the document, then you have the HTML tag, right? So this is the root element of your document. All right, root element of your document, of your HTML document. So then going down, you have other elements. Okay, When you have nested elements, tags, those nested elements tags will be translated into these nodes in a tree. So last time I explained the parent-child relationship. So here we have this kind of parent-child relationship. Every different places. All right. Then, with this model, now we can do the processing. So we can do the manipulations on different elements. All right. So it defines HTML elements as objects. So many objects. So each element corresponds to one object. So you can manipulate any element using that object way. All right. Properties of all HTML elements. So after you have objects, so you can access properties of the elements. Okay, so various properties. Yeah. What do you mean properties, right? What do you mean properties? Now, here, let me give you a simple example. Let's consider the input element. Input element, right? Yeah. So you have input tag element. Yeah. Input element. After you get this object, because this element will be modeled, will be represented as some object. Okay. Yeah. So let me just use obj1, for example, represent that object. Then you can, using this object, you can access its properties. Here, I'll give you one example of the property. Dot value. Value is one of its properties. So you use obj1.value, so you can access, two-way access, retrieve and write it, assign it a new value. So that's the, you can access objects of all HTML elements. Yeah. All right. Then methods access. When you have object, you can use data processing methods. Okay, to, do some data processing. Yeah. All right. And events for all HTML elements. Event handlers, you need to do interactions with your users through events and event handlers. Yeah. So that's typically the data processing work we need to do. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Here, I just bring the previous example, drag and drop example here. Okay. I want to explain some concept, DOM concept, using that example. Yeah. So here I just cut a portion of it. Yeah. But you can pretty much see the main part of that example. Yeah. The minimum. I just keep the minimum to describe the general structure of that example, drag and drop. Yeah. In this example, we can use the DOM representation. All right. So when we start, so we have some nodes, but we start from the HTML root of this document. Yeah. From there, when we go down, we get to this body element. Then when we go down, we have P element. Although there are other elements, but we only look at the one so that we want to manipulate. So we want to get to the exact element we want to do manipulation. Yeah. So P, it has a child node, span. Okay. So that's the one. Yeah, because when we do drag and drop, we drag and drop on one of the span elements. So that's why our goal, we want to reach one of the span elements. All right, so that's one branch. You can see in the tree, we get one branch, another span element, another branch, and so on. Right? We have 19 span elements. So we have a structure like this. Yeah. So this is the concrete structure corresponding to those draggable words. Those words are draggable, right? So we want to drag those words. Yeah. So we represent that portion of the document. Yeah. Other parts, yeah. At this point, we're not interested. Yeah. We're only interested in this part. Yeah. All right. So this is the DOM model. Next, I want to explain event propagation concept. Yeah. We need to use that DOM model. Yeah. So now we have the knowledge to understand this concept, event propagation. So in DOM terminology, now we look at our example, the span. We want to drag that span. Yeah. So what do we call the span we want to drag? We call it span element is the event target. Our drag event, mouse click, mouse press. So we select it, then we move the mouse and it drop to another place. So this whole sequence of actions are applied on event target. Yeah. All right. So that concept. Yeah. And that concept, the meaning of that, the innermost element over which the event originated. Yeah. So here, this innermost is important. Yeah. Think about when we apply an event, we apply it on many different elements, right? A sequence of elements, a long sequence of elements, right? But what is the target? The target is the innermost one, the bottom. Yeah. So remember in the previous slide, that span is at the bottom of that tree branch. That's the innermost element. Yeah. So that's the event target. Yeah. All right. So the event target plus its ancestors, long list of elements as its ancestors from its parent, immediate ancestor, right? The parent node, from its parent up through the very top element, the window object. Window object above the document object. Yeah. In the previous slide, we didn't put the window object, but it is above, another level above the document object. That's the window. Yeah. We talk about that. We mentioned it is a global object before. Yeah. The highest level, okay? Yeah. The very top one, window object, global object. Yeah. So, all right. And form a branch of DOM tree. Yeah. Okay. The one we drew in the previous slide, but here let me draw another time. Okay. We start with the event target, the bottom one, bottom element, span. Then we moving up, okay? Moving up through that tree branch. Its parent first. P is its parent. Then another level higher, body, ancestor. Yeah. Another level higher, HTML. Another level higher, document. Another level, the last one, window, the very top one, window object. Yeah. So that is the branch we are talking about. Okay? The tree branch we are talking about. Yeah. All right. So with this picture, then we can explain event propagation concept. Three phases of propagation. So when we talk about this propagation, we divide it into three different phases related to this branch. So the propagation is bi-directional. Two-direction, bi-directional. Okay? So here, because you need to process along this branch. You can go two directions. First branch, starting from window, one by one, and get to your target. Then another direction from this target, going back and return to the window. So bi-directional. So that's the meaning. Yeah. From the window to event target and back. Yeah, exactly like the one drawing in the diagram. Yeah. Then divide into three phases. Capture phase, the first phase we call the capture phase. What is the capture phase? Yeah. From the window to the event target parent. Not event target itself, its parent. Okay? All right. So the capture phase, starting from this window. Okay? So then going down, then stop at the parent of the target. Yeah. So this portion, yeah, so this path, so we call it capture phase. We define it as the capture phase. Okay, yeah, because when we do the programming, we need that concept. We need all those concepts to tell the browser how to do the specific data processing. Yeah. All right. Next phase, target phase. Target phase. That's on the target element. Yeah. Right on the target element. All right. Then going back. Okay. Going back, bubble phase. Okay. Bubble phase. So from the event target parent, yeah, starting point is the event target parent, yes, here, okay, going back, then back to the window. So that is the bubble phase, okay. So you can see the whole propagation procedure divided into these three phases. Then in our programs, then we can control different phases. Yeah. All right. All right. So here you can see in the code, you can see event.stop propagation. So now you know. So after certain processing, stop propagation. So do not, keep doing the, event handling along the remaining path of your propagation, right? Because look at one propagation. You start from the window, you go in this direction, then going back. Okay? Stop propagation probably after you do something. You don't want to do the remaining processing. So you want to stop. Okay? Stop propagation at this spot. So you don't do anything for the remaining part of the propagation. So that's when you see this line, you need to do. Okay, so that's one. Yeah. Another line you also see event.prevent default. You call this event prevent default. What's the meaning of that? Yeah. To see that, you need to understand, a little more for that. Yeah. All right, so here, before that, yeah, so let me just explain a little more in our code, in our drag and drop example. So understand three phases. Capture phase. So in this phase, only the capture listeners are called. Yeah. So the event handler functions register to those elements in the capture phase. Okay, yeah, those are called. Yeah. So specifically, true value, third parameter of add action listener. Yeah. So if you see add action listener, the third parameter, if it's true, that means it belongs to the capture phase. Then in the capture phase, you should call those event handlers, registered event handlers to those elements. So only those elements with the true value. Okay, all right. So that's the capture phase. All right. Target phase, the target element, right? So it doesn't matter true or false. Target phase, you need to call the event handler registered to the target element. Yeah. No matter the capture flag, its value of true or false, doesn't matter. Yeah, because you need to do it. Yeah, just do it. Yeah. Then the bubble phase. Now, this time, non-capture, that means you only call those event handler registered with the elements with the false value. False value. Okay? Yeah. Yeah. Right. So with this understanding, so then in your code, so which one you should call, which one you should not call. Okay? Yeah. So you need to know true or false value. So that's why in our example, we use two true values. So that's why they are in the capture phase. Okay? So then, in that direction from Windows, so we need to do it. Okay? Right. All right. So, yeah. All right. So that's the drag and drop example. But there is another concept. Cancel default events. So we have a line we call prevent default. What's the meaning of that? So here, I explain that part. Yeah. This prevent default method cancels the event if it is cancelable, meaning that the default action that belongs to event will not occur. Yeah. Some of the element, they have some default event and some action associated with default event. Okay? Yeah, by default. Yeah. Yeah. So usually when you do some action on it, automatically trigger events, so then actions, that kind of thing. Yeah. But sometimes we want to prevent that happen. Okay? We want to prevent those things happen. So we call this method. Yeah. On the what situation, yeah, here, let me just give you examples, two examples here. Yeah. For example, the submit button. When you have a form, you click the submit button, you submit a form to some program at the server side. But that's the default event, default action. Yeah. All right. If you want to disable it, you can do it. Yeah. It depends on your, the concrete, in your data processing, JavaScript function processing, if you really need to submit it or not. You can control that. You can stop that default action if you need it. Yeah. All right. So that's the first example. The second example, clicking the link. When you click a hyperlink, you go to the URL associated with that hyperlink. That's the default action. But sometimes you want to disable it. For some reason, for some special thing you detected. So you want to disable it. Then you can do it. Okay? Here in this example, then we can do it. Yeah. Suppose this is a ID of the hyperlink element. So we get that object. After you get that object, you add event listener click event. Yeah. So you try to change the behavior of the click event, because the click event has some default action. Yeah. So you change it with a event handler function. Here, this event handler function we call anonymous function. No name. We just put a definition of the function. So it is an anonymous function. In this anonymous function, we write this line, prevent default method, we call it. The event object, we prevent default method. So in this way, we stop that default action. So when you click it, nothing happens. We stop that default action. All right, so that's the theoretical background for our drag and drop example. Yeah. Still, it may not that easy to understand. Yeah, but with this background, so definitely you can understand it better. Yeah. So try to use this background when you read the code. Yeah. All right, so let's start part B.